College football is back, and we're back live, finally, after some technical difficulties on the big mountain.
Hey, it's great to have you back on the mountain. We're a little late.
It's Thursday night.
Better late than never.
Yeah.
We're all flustered because it's on Thursday. And we're going to do our picks. We're going to slow play this just a smidgen here in the beginning. Just to make sure people get their notifications, they get where they need to get, they get their notepads out, they get their pencil, or maybe they just, I don't know, give them some more time. I'm all over the place. But we've got picks, like we always have. You have, how many you got, Steve? You got 7?
7 picks.
I got 6. I got my new New Mexico shirt on, my Lobo shirt. I wore this the other day, but this is my first live episode, so I'm very happy. I got some new garb, some new Mountain West swag to wear. This is one of 3 new shirts that I have, so I'm excited to wear those. We'll get the other ones out eventually. I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag. So let's go over quickly, Steve, where we're at right now with our picks. I'm struggling on my locks, because I've had some funky things happen. Unfortunately, the Army star quarterback, an hour before game time, But anyway, here we go. You are 79% on straight picks. I'm 82%. We're both 56% on our spread picks. So you're all Big Ten. And what do you call them? Step Knolls?
Yeah, this is my Step Knolls.
Step Knolls. We had some commenters like that, by the way. And I'm also 56% on 56% on all Mountain West and Pac-12 or Pac-2 picks. And you're still hanging in strong at 63%. I know you'd like to be a little higher than that, but nothing wrong with that. I'm sub 50% on my locks. I want to crawl under the table, but it is what it is, and we own up to it.
Yeah.
If some people will be like, well, we're not going to show it this week because JY sucks. But hey, I'll own it. I'm 1 under 500.
I had someone reach out to me, comment. They said, dude, you give 3 locks and you're always 2 out of 3 on your locks. And it bears out. I'm 63% on my locks. And it started the season real hot.
Yes.
Where I was hitting like 75%, 3 out of 4 most weeks. But we both kind of came down a little bit back to earth. But I think we're on our way, trending back up again. And it's funny. I think it's 2 or 3 weeks in a row that we're almost the exact percentage on our picks.
Very close. And, this late, we're into week 11. It's hard to move these needles up. It's much easier to move them down, unfortunately. And, we'll say, what is about 4 weeks ago, we went 6-0 on our locks.
Yeah.
And I know we had some people loving those picks because they parlayed all 6 of them, and they won some bank.
We're also in that weird part of the season. We're like deep into the conference season where teams are just knocking each other off.
Yes.
A team will beat one team, but then lose to another team that
Yes.
beat the other. It's just kind of that crazy, wacky season where the cream is rising to the top.
Correct.
But that mushy middle is just all
Mushy.
discombobulated.
Yes.
Down. Yeah.
And I will just say, since we didn't have our preview screens, I'm drinking out of our wonderful Pilsner glasses, which anyone can have if they would like one. I'm drinking my Oktoberfest, but you can order them by sending us, what is it? Some money?
Yeah.
$28, I think it is, on our Venmo account that should be at the bottom of the screen, at the Big Mountain. What is it? At the Big Mountain. Yes, that's our Venmo account.
Okay.
So we'll ship this sucker to you. We just shipped one of these to our guest, Bob Thompson.
Oh, yeah.
He got it this week. And I sent him a couple stickers, too. Again, you can get our stickers if you want some of our stickers. And he said his wife took the stickers immediately, stuck them on her whatever, her Yeti cooler
Yeti.
thing.
I mean, they go
I don't know if
perfect
it's
on a
as
Yeti.
big as yours, but...
Big guy needs a big water bottle.
Yeah, so she took the stickers quick, but at least he gets to keep the glass. So
Okay.
hopefully Bob Thompson is enjoying some of his brews out of a Big Mountain Pilsner glass.
I like it.
So anyway... I think we're ready to make some picks.
I'm ready to go.
Let's go. So before we do that, let's see if we have any of our mountain dwellers on. I know I heard from that college football guy, Bill, had mentioned if he missed it. No, Bill, you didn't miss it. We're here. I see we have about 10, 15 people on. Just throw some chats on, say hello, and we are going to get right into it now. We're going to go Big Ten picks first. We're going to go Mountain West picks second, and then we want to talk about the college football playoffs.
Yes, lots to talk about there.
We'll save that to the very end. So let's get to the Big Ten picks. Week 11. Let's do it.
Okay. We going right into picks, or do you want to do a little hook for the video?
At this point, let's rock and roll.
Okay, let's go right into it. All right. Okay, producer PBW, you ready to go? PWB. Okay. So the first game that I'm going to be picking is Iowa at UCLA.
Yes.
I'm going to go ahead and take UCLA plus the points. UCLA plus 5.5. And here's the thing with this one. Iowa, good solid team. They finally have gotten more of a balanced offense. They're starting to throw the ball. They've played well recently. UCLA at the beginning of the season, really bad, total rebuild, but they've been trending up. And so it's kind of, this is a hard game to judge. I'll be honest, I'm not going to put any of my own money on this game because where are we catching UCLA? I mean, they're on that uptrend. If this game was in the first 3 weeks of the season, I've been picking Iowa to win by double digits.
Yeah.
But I think, how much UCLA has been improving. It's at home. Iowa's traveling across the country. I'm just going to go ahead and take UCLA plus the points, plus 5.5, because I think they can keep it, possibly win the game outright, but at least keep it close.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and take UCLA plus the points, but as my official pick. But I don't know if I'm actually going to put any of my own money on this one.
I get it. With as good as UCLA has been playing here recently, I appreciate you taking the points because you don't know exactly which way it's going to go, and you're getting over that field goal. And I think that is the safe pick, but I also understand why you're maybe staying away from it because you're not 100% sure. How good is UCLA actually becoming here this year? They've really kind of turned things around from early in the season. And I know we've got Ralph. He says hello. Big Mama's here. I know Michael had put some comments. I put out a what do you do that community thing earlier, just reminding people it was tonight. He said he'll be watching us from the park. I think he's in Nevada.
Oh.
And he's the one who's always corrected me. I now know how to say the word Nevada. So shout out to him. I say Nevada correctly. Thanks to one of our original Mountain Dwellers. He was on us last season when we were doing these picks. So
Surf City Bill is here.
Surf City Bill changed his name.
Yeah. What was it before? Bill?
I think just Bill.
Just Bill, yeah.
But he's Surf City Bill now, and he thinks that UCLA is the right choice on this one. So
yeah, you just taking those points. I love those, and like you said, over a field goal.
Yeah.
I'm just taking the points. I like
okay. All right.
Okay. So moving right along, the next game kind of similar, but in a totally different way. Purdue at Ohio State. I'm going to go ahead and take. I'm taking Ohio State to cover the 37.5.
Okay.
But I'm definitely not locking this game, and I'm not even sure if I'm going to put any of my own money on it.
Okay.
Because the line is just so high.
It's high.
So my official pick is for them to cover those points. However, the number of points makes me nervous, mostly because Ohio State just came off of a very physical game against Penn State, one of the biggest games of the year. They have a couple more big games to play.
Yeah.
They have Indiana coming up not too long. They have obviously that game of Michigan at the end of the year. And they're on track right now to basically they just need to win out. They don't need any more. We're going to talk about the college football playoff standings later, but they don't really necessarily need any more style points. They just need to win these games to get to that Big Ten championship game. Right. So I could see Ohio State taking their foot off the gas maybe late in the game, because they could beat Purdue by 100 if they really wanted to.
Yes. But
I could see them taking their foot off the gas a little bit late in the game, and Purdue maybe getting some points in garbage time, whatever. So the line, I think it's just, they probably do beat them by about 37 points, but when do they take their foot off the gas, and how many points can Purdue get in garbage time? So I'm taking it. It's my official pick, but I don't know if I'm putting any of my own money on it.
But I feel like, and maybe I'm wrong here, and viewers can correct me, and you can correct me, I feel like OSU does not do well, both this year and last year, recent history. They don't do well against large spreads. They're not a team that's gonna push, kind of like Oregon. I mean, Oregon used to they'd go balls to the wall and score 80 points. They didn't really care. Ohio State doesn't seem like they've been that team much. It's not something they necessarily have to do. Am I wrong in thinking that?
Definitely in comparison to Oregon. Yeah. And I think, too, a big thing with Ohio State is they wanted to have, this year in particular, a more physical style of play.
Yeah.
They wanted to match what Michigan had done the last couple years. And just be, so that lends itself to, we're not just going to throw 80-yard bombs.
Right.
We're going to try and dominate someone, which just takes down the clock faster, takes more air out of the ball. Yeah, I'm with you on that. They're not looking for those style points. They haven't all year as much as an Oregon has. So I'm taking them because they should beat Ohio
Right.
State by that. So it's
Right.
my official pick.
Yeah.
But I don't know that I'm putting any money on it.
Understood. Okay. Let's get to pick 3 in the Big Ten.
Okay. So pick 3, Minnesota at Rutgers. I'm going to go ahead and take Minnesota to cover the 6.5 points, and I'm making it our first Big Mountain ice cold lock. This game, this is kind of funny. I was down on Minnesota early, and I was a little slow on catching I like to say the worm when the worm is going to turn.
Yes.
I was a little slow on catching the worm turning. Well, I'm on it now. They found a quarterback. They have an offense that's going. They've won some tough games. And Rutgers kind of the opposite. Rutgers started so well, started on fire. They were looking great. They've had so many injuries. They are coming off of a bye.
Yeah.
However, injuries on the offensive line, key injuries on defense, and which has caused them with their offensive line injuries. They're already one-dimensional.
Yeah.
And they can't be as dominant in the run game as they want. And just the way Minnesota is trending versus Rutgers. I like Minnesota to win this game by 10 points, so I feel really good about locking them, especially it's under a touchdown. So if you can get it 6.5, I feel really good about locking Mini to cover the 6.5.
Absolutely. You got one team playing some really good football right now and another team on the ropes. And the fact that it's under the touchdown, Big Mama, in all caps, loves that big lock. And I agree. I love it too.
And I kind of teased you. I was going to tease
You
the
always
show.
tease me.
Yeah, that I was going to lock someone that I had not locked this week. And you guessed it. You were right, Minnesota. So next game, moving right along.
I had forgotten about that.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for reminding me.
You were right.
Okay.
You got it right away.
Okay.
So Michigan at Indiana. Indiana hosting Big Blue here. I'm taking Indiana to cover the 13.5 points, and I'm making this my second Big Mountain ice cold lock. The way Indiana has been trending, we've been on this train all year.
Yeah.
Kurt Signetti does not care about anyone's feelings. He wants to run up the score. He wants to make a statement. He made big statements before they even started playing this year and said,
Yes.
Purdue sucks, Ohio State sucks, Michigan sucks. We're going to beat all of them. And it sounded like big words,
Right.
but they've shown so far. I think they're 9.
Did he literally say they suck?
He did. He said, Michigan sucks, and so does
Okay.
Ohio State. Yeah. I mean, the dude came out firing,
That's
and he's
firing.
backed everything up.
Yeah.
So, I think he wants to send a message, and he's going to have a message to prove, to back up that big talk. And they've been doing it all season. They have never taken their foot off the gas. Even this last week, they were close to covering. They went down and scored again towards the end of the game. They've done that all season. He wants to make a statement. Again, we're going to talk about the new college football playoff rankings. I'm sure at 9-0, he's probably using that as a team, get with his team. Hey, they don't respect us. Let's go out. He says, hey, we just want to win the games, but I'm sure he's using that as motivation, wants to make a statement.
Yeah.
And just beyond the motivation factor, Indiana has showed themselves to be just a complete team time and again. Great offense.
Absolutely.
Very good defense, and their offense is balanced. They can run the ball. They can throw the ball. We thought maybe their one weakness on defense was against the running game.
Yeah.
But they have really locked that down. Really good linebacker play. They don't have the horses up front, the D line that Michigan has. I mean, Michigan has probably 2 first-round draft pick defensive tackles. Indiana doesn't have that, but their linebacker play has been amazing. I think I forget who they played this last week, but they held them to, with sacks included, like -20 rushing yards.
Yeah.
So I have not seen a weakness yet in this team. And Michigan is the exact opposite. Obviously, Michigan has a lot of talent, but it's so unbalanced.
Yes.
Their offense, they did finally find a little bit of a passing game, but it's not anything that I think is going to be dangerous to Indiana. And they have a run game, but I think Indiana will be able to hold it down. And I just don't think Michigan's defense is still good, but a really balanced Indiana offense, I think, is going to be able to move the ball down the field on them. Because Indiana is better team than Illinois, and Illinois was really able to move it and was able to move the ball and just basically control Michigan. I think Indiana will be able to do the same thing, but Indiana has so much more offense, more firepower, and they're willing to put that pedal to the metal and keep scoring. So I love them. I think they win by 20 points, 3 touchdowns or more.
Yeah, well, you said it there at the end. Just the offense is they're gonna roll. And I know Michigan has the decent, well, better than decent, a very good defense.
Yeah.
there's nothing that makes me believe that they don't win by 2 touchdowns, as you said, maybe 3 or more. And I think Indy, this is their, people say they have an easier schedule, their strength of schedule. And yeah, Michigan's down here a little bit. But I'll tell you what, you want to make a statement game, this is it. And they have more coming up. But this is a massive game to make a statement. And they're home. I think it was Washington that they played. Is that you talking about Indiana?
Yes.
They played?
Yeah.
Did they just play Washington for the big noon? That was 2 weeks ago.
That was 2 weeks ago. Last week
bad.
I was in I was in Penn State and Happy Valley, and
it's a little hazy.
Yes.
So yeah, I do want to just mention. I know we're getting some new peeps. We're going to go through the rest of the Big Ten. Steve's through 4. He has 2 ice cold locks so far. We'll get to the Mountain West next, and then we do want to talk college football playoffs. We've got that college football guy on. I know him and Surf City Bill are having at some of the names here, which is funny.
Bill and Bill.
But Bill, that college football guy, says he likes to pick here with Indiana. Michigan just not on Indiana's level right now. Historically, that is an interesting statement.
Yeah, it's crazy to say.
Yes,
yeah.
but it's exactly
Totally,
right. Just
right.
not on their level right now.
Yes.
So, all right, let's go to number 5 here in the Big Ten.
Okay. All right. So my 5th game is Maryland at Oregon, and I'm taking Oregon to cover the 23.5, and I'm making it a Big Mountain ice cold lock. I'm surprised at the line. Maryland, they've improved. They're a little bit better than I expect them to be, but they have to travel across the country to Autzen Stadium, which I think is one of the hardest places to play.
Yeah.
Top 2 or 3 in the Big Ten. And Oregon is just a rolling monster right now. Honestly, Oregon is Indiana with more talent.
Yeah.
They just have they're putting the pedal to the metal. Do you know Dan Lanning this last week? I saw a video. They went in the Big House and beat Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
Dan Lanning, towards the end of the game, took a timeout at the end of the game so that he and his players could look around in the Big House and see the fans streaming out with depressed looks on their faces. The dude wants to go and take your heart out.
Yeah.
His team wants to do that. They have not. There was a couple times I picked against them, maybe
Yeah.
once or twice to pick against them covering these big spreads. And I was wrong because they just want to score. They want to kill people. They want to make a statement.
Yep.
And they're the number 1 team in the country. They keep making that case every single week. I don't see them letting up. I don't think Maryland has anywhere near the horses to run with them.
Yeah.
Going to be difficult playing in that environment. And Oregon's just, they're not, where I said earlier, I think Ohio State will take their foot off the gas at some point. It's just a matter of when. Oregon's not going to take their foot off the gas. They will try and score all the way to the end. So I love them. I like Oregon by 30 points. So, it was not easy. It was not hard at all for me to lock the 23.5, especially being under that 24 mark.
Right, for sure. Yeah. Well, there's 3 in a row. Steve does that. I'll tell you. When he gets on his locks, you just like the boom, boom, boom. You go for him.
Knock them out.
And our producers all over it. We've got some scores because we got college football happening. I know there's an NFL game, but we don't do NFL here. We do college football. So you can see those scores at the bottom. We appreciate him for getting those up. We've got Coastal Carolina up by 2 touchdowns on Appy State. I'm really surprised by Appy State this year. They're just not the Appy State I thought they'd be.
Yeah.
And just kind of like a 500-ish team. I don't know what the hell they're doing. But we don't follow that conference.
What's the other game?
The other game is what is that? East Carolina.
Yeah.
Up big, 3 touchdowns over Florida Atlantic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That is Florida Atlantic. I can't read it, but I'm pretty sure it's Florida Atlantic. If I
Our
remember
old
correctly.
40-year-old plus eyes.
It's not good, Steve. It's not good. I need new contacts is what I need.
You made a good point there. Thank you to our producer. We had some technical difficulties at the beginning. It was not his fault. We had some computer issues, and so we were up a little late, but he got everything up. He's putting those scores up, and that was kind of a last-minute request, so we appreciate
He's
it.
kicking butt.
PWB Productions, he's awesome. And so, should I move on to the next game?
Yeah, where are we going? Oh, look who we're going to.
I will be at this game, Washington at Penn State. I'll be in Happy Valley for the whiteout. I'm taking Penn State to cover the 13.5. I'm nowhere near confident enough to lock it. I see Penn State winning this game somewhere between 10 and 14 points, by 2 scores. I think Penn State's just the better team. Washington's playing well. They're on a nice uptrend.
Yes.
They have to come across the country. We've talked about how difficult that is. Playing in that whiteout environment, which is a terrible, tough place to play at night in that environment. And I think Penn State's just the better team. Penn State was looking, and they've been really good the last 3 or 4 years after a tough loss to Ohio State or Michigan, coming out the next week and making that statement to let everybody know that they're still in it to win it.
Yeah.
And as we talk about later with the college football playoffs, they still have a ton to play for.
Yep.
I think they're going to want to make a statement here. Again, not comfortable enough to lock it, but I feel pretty good taking Penn State to cover the 13.5. If it was, I would have locked it like 9.5. I would have locked it because I really think in that 10 to 14 point window right there is what Penn State wins.
Okay. So if people are looking for alt spreads or if you're looking for teasers, maybe you add Penn State to that teaser and you take that 3.5, 4.5 points off of it. I know you don't like teasers. You say they're sucker bets, but I like to throw some out because they're fun.
So generally, yes, I do say any of those are the casinos want you to do those. However, if you're like with our locks and if you have a good track record and you can tease a couple of those, make them even a little bit better, I got no problem with it. Parlay it. And if you're on FanDuel, so my buddy Nick out there, we've been texting. What he's been doing is taking our locks, 3 or 4 of our locks, and putting them into a round robin on FanDuel. Okay. Which I think you have to win like 3 out of 4 or 2, something. It
depends
like
on how many you have.
Yeah. And he's made good money with that because he said if we get 3 out of 4 right, he makes some good money. If we get them all right, he makes a lot of money.
Right.
So,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so that's another way to do it.
I've started doing some round robins. It's the first time I've ever done it for the last couple weeks.
It's fun.
It is interesting. It keeps you in the game longer.
Yeah.
You can have a loss, you can miss a game, but you're still doing okay. And they're different. And we do this for fun.
Yeah.
I think.
So Big Mama says they love the scores at the bottom. I agree. Again, PWB Productions is awesome. So we appreciate that. So one last game. Got to pick my Step Knowles. Got to pick their game. I've been picking the Step Knowles, thinking they were going to get the worm to turn.
Nope.
And here's the thing. They've been playing some teams that on paper, they were better than. They did beat Cal, but then there were some other games where they should have beat those other teams, but ridiculous, crazy, just like weird things happening to them this year. It's obviously just not their year.
Yeah.
This time they are playing a team that is markedly better than them on paper, on their roster, a Notre Dame team that's playing really well. So I'm taking Notre Dame to cover the 25.5. Just think Notre Dame's, they're a better team. They're playing better, way better now than they were early in the season when they lost to Northern Illinois. And Florida State's playing just as badly as they basically have all season.
Yeah.
So I like Notre Dame here. I'm not locking it. Maybe just because the point spread is so high. Like if it was 20.5, I might lock it. But I like Notre Dame to win this by 3 scores or more. So I'm taking them to cover the 25.5.
Okay. I was stunned when I saw that you were not taking Florida State because you were trying to ride that. And if anybody saw us last week, you kept betting red and it's still coming up black. And I hope it doesn't turn for you because you've been betting that turn. And it hasn't come.
You know what? I don't know that I'm actually going to put any of my own money on this.
I sure as hell wouldn't.
So either way, maybe me picking against Florida State. Maybe our Knowles fans will be happy that maybe this will be what is their motivation to actually go out there and play some good football and win the game. And Big Mama, Big Mama knows you. JY loves FSU.
It's not that I dislike FSU. I just struggle to understand why you continually were picking them. And I know you're reminding me you didn't always pick them, but you picked them a lot, especially over the last few weeks when I'm going, no. It has nothing to do with me liking, loving, hating FSU. Yeah. It's Steve's picks of FSU that I was struggling with.
So I'll remind you again, I did pick against them once or twice.
I know.
And then I did pick them against Cal, and they beat Cal straight up.
Okay.
But then, and then I rode them for 2 or 3 weeks thinking, and it didn't work out. No. So I'm going the other way.
All right. You're going to black when it's coming up black. At least apparently that's my analogy. All right. Are we ready to go to the Mountain West? We're going to get through the Mountain West here. I got 6 games after the Mountain West. And the Pac-2, but the Mountain West is playing the Pac-2, so it's kind of irrelevant. We're going to get to the college football playoffs because we got some things to talk about, and I'd like to hear what some of our viewers have to say.
I'm excited.
All right, let's get to the first Mountain West game. We have New Mexico versus San Diego State. I am going to take the points with the Lobos. One of the reasons why I wore my Lobo shirt, because I'm picking the Lobos. But I'm taking the points here with the Lobos plus 2.5. This is the Friday night game, so tomorrow night. is this game, and I think it will be a close game. I'm just going to put my money on New Mexico's offense here a little bit more. And San Diego State, I mean, they did well against Washington State, so I could understand people wanting to pick San Diego State with as close as this is. But I'm just going to take the Lobos. I think they have a good trajectory going right now. I struggle to figure out San Diego State's offense. And Danny O'Neal, he got banged up here a couple weeks ago. He got banged up again in the last game. He's definitely not 100% right now. I don't think I'm going to bet this game. Yeah. No, I'm not going to bet this game, but I am going to take the Lobos plus 2.5.
Do you is this one where you may take a look at the money line, or are you just going to totally stay away from it?
I'm going to stay away from it. I don't necessarily trust either team right now. But, with the offense that UNM has, as long as Dampier does not turn the ball over too much, they should be just fine. So that's where I'm at with that game. Okay. So let's get to our Saturday games. Next one, San Jose State versus Oregon State. And I struggled with this one. Another one I am staying away from because I just don't understand what's going on in San Jose State. But I am going to take the 2.5 points with the Spartans. They are coming off a bye week. I'm hoping that the daggone offensive coordinator will have his stuff together and, they're going to score points like they were at the beginning of the season. We know the Beavs have been having some issues with some of their injuries. They've had a lot of injury issues here, and they're coming off a bye as well, so both teams coming off byes. It is up in Oregon State. So again, not a spread I really like. Again, money line, I'm probably staying away from this. We're committed to picking all the Big Ten Mountain West games, so that's why I'm picking this. But I'm coming out of the box here, Steve, just not real confident in either of these. But I'm taking the points with the Spartans.
This is one of those weird games where the Spartans, they had that Nash and Gash offense going, and then the coaches kind of messed with the quarterback situation. I think ruined it. And then you have a Oregon State team, the Beavs, where when their quarterback is playing well, when he's healthy, he's playing well. The dude can put up some points, but man, oh man, when he's not playing well or makes some mistakes, it's pick sixes the other way
for sure.
So there's so much volatility there.
There's a lot of volatility, yeah. And honestly, that's both of these first two games. There's just a lot of volatility, and I get Bill saying that college football guy. He's saying I don't trust New Mexico's defense. I somewhat trust San Diego's defense. I totally understand that, and I get that. But I'm just going to take the points with the underdogs here, thinking these are going to be somewhat close games, and maybe if they are, they can still lose, and we still, I still win my pick.
If I could say real quick.
Did you see Spence's comment?
Yeah. So first he was amazed that I was not picking FSU.
Yes.
But yes, it was. He's talking about, so the team total. I don't bet a lot of team total stuff. Sometimes I'll do a first half, but he said the team total for Florida State is, for the entire game, is 8 points. And they need to score 8 points or they should just fold the entire program. I mean, here's the thing. I mean, their offense is so dysfunctional.
It is.
And Notre Dame, A, has really good defense, but B, the way they've been playing offense, they've been scoring points, but in a way where they're also controlling the game, kind of ball control, possession. So I could see, them just taking the ball out of Florida State's hands, and it's going to be tough. I agree. Florida State should be able to score 8 points, get into the double digits, but I don't see them scoring much more than that.
Sure, right. Well, we got some love coming out here for Army's line. I don't know what Army's line is this week, but what did I do? I have wrong info on my slide. What did I do? Oh, I made a boo-boo. Anyway, that's San Jose State. I was taking plus 2.5 with San Jose State.
Okay.
I must have made an issue with my slide. Anyway, what were we saying? Oh, Army. I don't know what the line is with Army. Somebody throw that out there. And also throw out there if the starting quarterback is going to be playing. Because that is huge. You got to know that. And we don't follow Army, other than when they play Air Force.
That's the biggest factor. Big Mom is saying they're taking the Army line and locking it. I mean, I get it. But what happens if that week they take the line out, or they take the quarterback out?
Yes.
The slide info had Army minus 22.
I'm sorry, guys. So okay, we got that Army. I didn't correct the wording
Gotcha.
That's a JY boo-boo.
Yeah, whatever.
Okay, I need another beer.
Yeah.
Okay, hopefully the next one's right. The next one might be wrong too. It probably is wrong. The graphic will be right, but the line's probably wrong because I was in a hurry and I probably screwed this one up. I may have screwed up all of these. So listen to what JY says, not what the slide says. Nevada versus Boise State. I am taking Boise State minus 24.5. This is moved.
Yes.
To the flagship Fox network.
Yep.
It is going to be prime time, and Boise's going to roll. And I'm locking them with a Big Mountain ice cold lock.
Very nice.
So, 24.5.
Yep.
Boise, the dub. I just, you saw what they did last week. They just made a mess of San Diego State. I said in our information afterwards, our recap, that it wasn't even as close as what it said. What was it, 32 points or something like that?
Yep.
And, I said I kind of feel bad for Nevada because Boise is going to put on a show. They're going to score gobs of points. They're going to want Genty just going off for his Heisman campaign. So I am all over Boise here, minus 24.5. And I'm anxious that this game's on the flagship Fox. It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be awesome. Great opportunity for Boise. Great opportunity for Genty for Heisman.
Yes.
Just great for them. I'm sorry I'm going to miss it because I'm going to be watching the Penn State game live in the stadium. But again, great opportunity for them. And we're going to talk about Boise a little bit later when we talk about the college football playoff and what this game can mean to them.
Yes. So I got that slide right, Steve.
All right.
Isn't that freaking amazing?
Yes.
All right, let's get to the next one. UNLV versus Hawaii. UNLV traveling to the islands of Hawaii. And I am taking UNLV minus 12.5. And I struggle here because Hawaii has played really well.
Producer shaking his head.
Oh, did I screw it up again? Producer? Just give me a thumbs down. Anyway, I am taking UNLV minus 12.5, and we may not have a slide, but it's UNLV versus Hawaii minus 12.5. And like I was saying, this is they're going to the islands. Both teams are playing well. I like UNLV to cover this. It's always a struggle when you're traveling to Hawaii. Hawaii has come off 2 really good wins. They've kind of righted the ship, and they could end up the season really strong here. And 12.5 that's a sizable line. Do you like UNLV to win by 2 touchdowns? Yeah, I do. But I'm far from a lock on that because just Hawaii has looked much, much better here recently. And that travel to Hawaii always scares me for any team. So that's why I'm not going to lock it. But you got to go with UNLV. They still have aspirations of going to the college football playoffs.
Yeah.
The only way they do that is to win out, to get into the Mountain West Championship game, and hopefully see Boise again, and then, possibly beat them.
Still possibility. And you have to think, yes, that possibility is still open. And you have to think beyond that, UNLV has to have a lot of motivation. They have to be very motivated to want to get back with that close loss to Boise, to get back into the Mountain West Championship game and win it. Whether or not they make the playoff, that would be huge for the program, huge for momentum going into next year.
Yeah, and Bill says, can Nevada score 10 points? I don't know. I mean, certainly, I think they probably can score 10 points. But I think Boise's they're just going to be racking up the offense big time in this game. And then he says UNLV will be playing mad. Absolutely, they're coming off a bye as well. And yes, they're going to be playing mad. And that's why I'm taking them. But as I said, that travel is the first time Coach Odom is traveling to the islands here. So we'll see how they do. But I do like UNLV there to come out with the dub. Let's go to Fresno State, who's been struggling a bit. But guess who they get to play? Air Force.
Oh, that's a good medicine.
That's good medicine for a struggling team. Sorry to any of our Falcon fans, but the line here only 10.5. And, you say, well, only's not that bad. Fresno State's not looking very good right now. Air Force can't score.
Yeah.
They just can't. I've been saying it for I don't know how many flipping weeks. Fresno State still has a strong defense. And, Mikey Keene is still very serviceable. I don't see how they don't easily cover this spread. So easily, I am making this my second Big Mountain ice cold lock. Fresno State minus 10.5. And, I say I'm not going to lock against Air Force every week, but I think I've been locking against Air Force. Now, I didn't get it last week, but that was,
A weird thing happened.
kind of the weird thing with the quarterback. That was the slide that was up, that 22.5. That was from last week. And, I have issues with copying and pasting.
Yes.
That's why that was up there.
Yeah.
But yeah, they didn't cover that. I think it was 20 points with a backup quarterback for Army. But man, Fresno State here, I love this lock. I think they roll against Air Force.
Well, Steven just joined us. He's a little bit late. You didn't miss too much. Well, you missed a lot, but you weren't too late because we were late. We had some technical difficulty. We got on late. I'll just go through real quick for Steven's part. I locked Mini to cover 7 or 6.5 at Rutgers. I locked Indiana to cover 13.5. Hosting Michigan. I locked Oregon to cover 23.5. Hosting Maryland. And JY is about halfway through his picks. You had some locks as well.
I locked Boise State minus 24.5, and just now Fresno State at minus 10.5. So Big Mountain's got 5 ice cold locks for you guys this week, and I have one more pick. That is Utah State versus Washington State. Squeezed money's Washington State. And the line here, 20.5. A little big for me, but I am going to take the Cougs covering the 21.5. As I've kept saying, Utah State does not have a defense, but they do have an offense, and Washington State's defense isn't anything to write home about. So this is going to be a high-scoring game. The over-under here, Steve, is 69.5. And if you remember a few weeks ago when we talked about the Lobos playing Utah State, that was at, I think it was 69.5 or 70.5 or something, and I said, we were like, over.
Yes.
And they were over by, I don't know, I think it's 80-some points in that game. I think this could be the same thing. If you want an over-under pick, I'm not making it an official pick. I don't have a slide for it. But I like the over 69.5 here because these offenses are going to go off yet again.
And I think even some of our mountain dwellers called you a little nuts when you picked that over because it was such a crazy number, but they hit it and they busted it.
And this could happen again. Washington State, Utah State will be a very high-scoring game. But Washington State's defense is better than Utah State's defense. I'm not going to lock this because they got to cover 3 touchdowns. That's a lot of points. But they are the better team, obviously. They're a one-loss team. Utah State struggling here, specifically on the defensive side. So I'm taking the Cougs. And again, if you guys want those over-unders, I know you say, JY, you're kind of crazy, taking an over 69.5. I would not hesitate taking the over 69.5 on this game. So those are our picks, and we want to get to some CFP talk, Steve, right?
Yeah.
All right, so what do we got?
Yeah, so, all right. So if our producer could bring up we have our bracket up. So the rankings came out this week. What I really wanted to cover is just a snapshot. We're not going to cover the entire rankings, but just a snapshot of who would be in the playoffs, who would be playing who right now with the rankings the way they are. So right now, the 4 teams getting a bye, which is the top 4 conference champions.
Yeah.
Doesn't necessarily mean Power 4, Power 2, Power 5, whatever. Just the top 4 conference champions. And we've got Oregon, we've got Georgia, we've got Miami, and BYU out of the Big 12. Now, to note, BYU, I think, was ranked around 9th here. And we have, down in 12th, we have Boise, who is tracking, would be the conference champion of the Mountain West. So they're only, I think, 3 spots behind BYU, so they're right on their heels. And so those 4 teams got their byes by being the highest conference champions. And then in the first round, we would see Tennessee hosting Indiana, Ohio State hosting Boise. Boy, that would be a fun game. That would be a lot of fun. Penn State hosting Notre Dame. I think that would draw a little bit of fan interest.
Yeah.
A December whiteout in Happy Valley with Notre Dame coming to visit.
That would be unbelievable.
It would be totally amazing. And then Texas hosting Alabama. I mean,
that would be amazing too.
Yes. So really good slate of games there. What are your thoughts? Just seeing how it could look, first week of the rankings.
Yeah, I mean, there's some, again, they're going to change. But I'll tell you what, the Penn State Notre Dame would be amazing. The Texas Alabama in a first round would be amazing. I would actually like, if you're going to do it, I'd like to see Indiana Boise State. I mean, that could be a really interesting game. And then you just flip-flop that and do Ohio State and Tennessee. I think those 4 would be all really strong first-round matchups. But I will go back to your BYU comment. they have a tough end of the schedule here. I mean, I know they're undefeated right now. They got Utah this coming week, and I don't remember exactly who they have, but it is not an easy schedule for them. If they win out, they absolutely should be in the top 4, but they have a very difficult schedule in order to do that. I'm not gonna say it can't happen. Good luck to the BY Who's. Yeah.
Good points. So I have a couple thoughts that really stand out that I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, BYU being where they're at and being the rest of the rankings, I think that this means unless BYU wins out and then loses in their conference championship game, I think this shows us the Big 12 is on track to only get one team in, which I kind of thought was from the beginning.
Yeah.
And it also shows, like we talked about, that with Boise right there nipping at their heels, that any slip up by BYU or whoever's going to be the eventual Big 12 champion means if Boise keeps winning out, they have a really good chance of being that 4th conference champion.
Yeah.
So don't just assume that the all the G5 conference champions are only fighting for seed 12. Boise has a inside track on getting that 4th seed. That's one thought. Another thought, Indiana. There's some people, it's funny because at the beginning of the season, nobody respected Indiana whatsoever. Didn't expect anything from them. We were all over Indiana with Kurt Signetti coming in, bringing in Curtis Rourke, and the talent they brought in. We said that they would win 9 games, and they've already won 9 games. So they're doing everything we expected, even a little bit more. Well, now I think the worm has finally turned for the public. The public is saying, wow, Indiana, they're really good. I've seen some chatter that maybe they're being disrespected here, 9th. Well, here's the thing. Their strength of schedule is really, really low so far. However, they have some major games coming up. They have a chance to change that. They're playing Michigan, which is still a huge game. Even though Michigan's down a little bit, it's going to make a big difference. And they have a chance to go in and upset Ohio State yet. And even if they don't go, even if let's say they beat Michigan but lose to Ohio State, if they have a respectable showing and can go 11-1 and their only loss is a respectable loss to Ohio State, they have a really good chance to not just make the college football playoff but move up in those rankings. So I thought that was interesting. And then also ACC, with Clemson losing, Pitt losing. The only team we have here in the rankings is Miami. Unless let's say Miami goes, they win out and then lose in the conference championship game, then maybe the ACC gets in 2 teams. But if not, I think the ACC is only getting 1 team. So we're seeing, the Big 10, the SEC taking a lot of these spots. It looks like the Big 12 and Big 12 and SEC taking a bunch of spots. It looks like the ACC and the Big 12 may only get 1 spot each unless some kind of thing upset happens in the conference championship game. And I think that leaves a lot of room. Notre Dame's doing well, but they could have another loss. They have some tough games, but to me that leaves a lot of room. The G5 teams are still in play. Boise has a really great chance for that 4th seed. UNLV, like you talked about earlier, if they could, with their strength of schedule out of conference, if they could avenge their upset or their loss to Boise and be a Mountain West champion, I think they could fight for a playoff spot here. So a lot of openings. It's still wide open. To me, this makes college football so much more exciting. We had so many people complaining about this going in, but to me, all these teams have a chance. All these games mean so much more as we go on through the season because there's all these spots to fight for.
For sure. And I would say, I believe it was SMU was 13th. So SMU,
they still,
kind of nipping at the heels of, certainly Miami and just getting into the college football playoff. I was big on them preseason. They started a little weak, but man, they're coming on strong. So they would be the next up. You talk about only 1 Big 12, 1 ACC. SMU's, at least right now, they're kind of that next man up. I know I saw some chatter about Alabama only really getting in here because of their name. Why are they in the CFP right now? We'll see what happens. I think they're on the verge. They're 11, so they're barely in the college football playoff right now. One more loss and they're Dunskies. They're playing for their playoff hopes, in my opinion.
Yeah, and they play LSU this week. Yeah, I think, and LSU's not too far out of the rankings.
Right.
elimination game. Whichever one of those loses, they're out. But Alabama's got a win over Georgia, who's the number 3 team.
Yeah.
They had a win over Ole Miss. Like, they've got some solid wins. And their losses are to Tennessee and Vanderbilt, which is that weird one this year that you don't expect much, but they've been upsetting people. They've been that upset monster.
Still a loss. I don't really give a crap. And the other thing I would say is, I get the chatter. I mean, I know this is all done around the bowls, and they're using the Fiesta Bowl and the Peach Bowl and the Rose Bowl to be this quarterfinals. But I personally think that, your top 4 teams, they're missing out on a home playoff game. That just blows my mind that your top 4 teams here don't get, and 5 through 12, or well, I should say 5 through, what would that be, 8, do get one. Yes. And you're kind of leaving your top 4 teams out of it. I mean, okay, they're going to bowls and doing that, but I just for the fans and stuff, I think everybody should get one home playoff game. Maybe that's more nostalgia-y, if you want to call it that. But I don't know. That kind of sucks.
Well, and your point there is a good one, and it leads to a bigger point that I think we'll talk about more as we get closer to the end.
Yeah.
But just as a little teaser to that, there's a lot of strategizing going on right now. Is it better to not make it to your conference championship game, have a bye there, and then get a home game in the first round than it is going to the conference championship game, then not having a home game? When do you take the bye? Whatever. There's some strategy. There's some people that think that maybe having like the 5th seed is better than being one of those top 4 seeds.
Yeah, I could understand that 100%. And Spence says that apparently it's me against the world again, because every other podcast pick show he's listened to is picking the under in the USU versus Washington State game. Hey, I did it once, and I'm happy to try to do it again with getting that over on that big number.
Well, I'll say those other podcasts are probably just picking the number because they see that big number.
It's so freaking high.
Yeah, whereas you are very familiar with these Mountain West teams and that New Mexico offense.
Yeah, so we get Genetics is here. Hey, strangers, let's see if we have any. Oh, there we go, Josh. I don't think BYU is going to win out. I would have to agree with that. I think the schedule is just too difficult for them. Not that they're not a good team, and again, not knocking on them, but I think they have a really hard time winning out.
Well, as Janek says, he doesn't see any Big 12 team winning out and winning. Yeah. I agree. They're just a mix mash conference that's going to knock each other off.
Yeah. Just reading. We're just reading comments here real quick.
So Surf City Bill talks about, he's saying about the ranking, depend on their ranking versus Boise State. I'm guessing he's talking about maybe BYU or a Big 12 champion.
Yes, I think he's talking Big 12. Yeah.
Very possible. But Boise is that one, we've talked about Boise over the years. They are that one G5 team that gets that respect. They get a little bit of the benefit of the doubt.
A little bit.
And having, one of the top Heisman contenders, and we said we were going to talk about this later, they are getting a showcase game on Fox. Right. This is a chance against an opponent that they should crush, hopefully.
Yes.
So if they go out and do their thing and beat the brakes off Nevada, Genty for Heisman continues his Heisman campaign, that's going to get I think that will get them that exposure. They already have a proven track record. They won a New Year's Six Bowl back in the day. I know it was a while ago, but they have the gravitas, they have the respect, of the establishment. I think they're that one team this year that could do it. And if they do it, I think that sets the groundwork for other, G5 Mountain West champions and other G5, G6, G8, whatever we're calling them now, champions to show that they have a viable path to getting a good seed in the playoffs.
Yeah, well, Surf City Bill also says something that you've been saying here all week. That is Utah possibly beating BYU. You said that right before we went live. You're like, man, Utah versus BYU. That could be a catch game. I know Utah is not having the season they were hoping for. They always rising. They just need to move on from him. We got to be done.
He's getting an 8th year next year.
We got to be done with that. And even after that game, it's not just the Utah game. They've got a hard schedule. So
I wanted one last thing. Washington State, the Cougs.
Yeah.
They're sitting there, were they 8-1, I think, and they're still alive. It's going to be a tough row to hoe for them. It would be awesome if Notre Dame would take a loss or two, and awesome if they, chaos in the Big 12, and if Washington State could keep on winning.
Yeah.
They have that Apple Cup win. Like if Washington keeps on winning, they've been trending up. that win for Washington State looks even better and better. And Washington State's only loss, I'm pretty sure, is to Boise, to those Broncos who are looking just awesome, looking like a powerhouse.
Yep, for sure. Josh said he's not looking forward to the butt kicking that Utah State's going to be getting from Washington State. We'll see. I mean, if you guys can score points, which I know you can, I don't know if it'll be a butt kicking. I think you're going to lose the game. I picked Washington State, but we'll see. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that's all we had. Anything else with the college football playoff, Steve? I don't want to.
Well,
just anything else
so and genetics makes a point. We were going to talk about this. The way the games, the playoff games, and we'll probably talk a little bit more as it gets closer. But they're going to be going head to head against the NFL. So genetics mentions about putting an Indiana game because Indiana, unfortunately, they just don't have the long football tradition, the big fan base like in Ohio State and Michigan. Putting them against one of the Indiana games. And he talks about PSU. I mean, just a PSU playoff whiteout at night would just be amazing. I'm sure would draw big rankings, especially if they're hosting, a Notre Dame or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Would be amazing.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, we'll wrap this one up. Hey, if you guys haven't seen some of the awesome interviews that we've done here over this past week, check out our channel. We had Josh Wood on with the SAC-12 committee, kind of give us an update on where that committee's at, where Sacramento State is at, and their push to become an FBS school. We just did an interview that dropped earlier today on Tarleton State. We had the athletic director on from Tarleton. It was a great interview. He talked about the Mountain West, the ongoing discussions and communications, but also just talked about the school. A lot of people don't know who Tarleton is. They have been getting some of that press and headlines about possibly moving to the Mountain West, but he at least just said, hey, we are ready to move FBS whenever we get the invite. So check out those two interviews that we did or discussions that we did. Really good stuff. And I'm working on a third, would be the biggest of the three. Haven't confirmed it yet, but we'll see what we can do on getting another really, really good interview out.
So before we cut out, one last question from genetics.
Okay.
Just give us your quick and dirty thoughts. North Dakota State, Mountain West. You think there's anything real to that? Is it just smoke and mirrors?
I think it's mostly smoke.
Okay.
There was a quote actually given today by the I think it was the AD of North Dakota State, and it was one of the normal generic. We're always interested in trying to better our position and da 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 da. It was kind of the generic spiel that you would get from people. I personally right now think it's more smoke than it is legit discussions. And remember what came out of I think it was McMurphy that put it out originally. He didn't even say there was discussions happening. He said the Mountain West may be considering North Dakota State. So that it's not I would be shocked if there's been any discussions right now. And what does that even mean, considering North Dakota State? So I think personally, I don't think it's serious right now. I think they're still waiting on NIU and Toledo. Clearly, we saw things earlier this week that it's maybe getting a little cold. I've seen some people say the president and the AD, specifically the president, is very risk adverse. It's not something he's not a go-getter. Yeah. He's not what we're hearing out of Tarleton. We're both the president and the AD are on the same page. They want to push the envelope. Not past what they can't do, but they're ready for it. Yeah. Apparently, that's not NIU's president and AD. They're not looking for that. So, if I'm a conference and I'm looking at schools, I want a school that has a president, an AD, a base that is ready to not only just move up or move, but they want to move and succeed. I'm starting to hear that's maybe not the case with NIU. But I also don't think it's over. It said waning. That means, they're maybe a little further apart than people thought. So I don't think by any means it's over yet with NIU, but I think they're starting to look elsewhere.
I think it's a harder decision for them, too, because they're in the MAC, like some of their traditional footprint schools, and then going to the Mountain West, I think it's just a harder decision, a bigger decision. Whereas for a Tarleton State, it's a no-brainer. I mean, moving up to FBS and playing in the Mountain West would be awesome for them. So definitely a different situation, I think.
Yeah, and so just to get back, Genetics asked, how serious are the talks I'm not even sure there are talks right now. So to answer that question, I don't think they're serious at all because I don't even know if they're happening, quite frankly.
There you go.
That's where I'm at with it. But I could be wrong.
Yeah.
So anyway, all right. Well, with that, hey, we thank you guys all for watching. Remember, we are going to be Thursday nights here for the next couple weeks. I know that threw everybody a curveball. We apologize for that, but it's what we're going to have to do because of my family commitments on Wednesdays. But we're still going to be doing pick shows. We'll keep these guys up. I know I've been getting some people going, hey, where's the pick show? I need the pick show. What's going on with that? Here it is. We'll leave it up until, games are live. I'm not going to shut this one down since it is Thursday night. We're just going to leave this guy up. So with that, hey, we thank you guys for watching. We'll see you all next time on The Big Mountain.